We are watching in this country the utter collapse of our economy and the expansion of the federal government in record time, in just at lightning speed. And too few of us are paying attention to what possible consequences could carry for America. One I want to mention relates to the $2.2 trillion bill that Congress passed and President Trump has signed. This is, of course, in relation to the coronavirus and the need to get money to people who can't pay their bills. But I want to be sure you understand the level of extreme crazy in that bill. We've talked about several other days. There are new things coming to light in the famous, we had to wait to find out what was, we had to pass it and wait to pass it so we could find out what was in it. Things in this bill. For one thing, $600 billion, 600 B as in boy billion dollars out of this $2.2 trillion bill is simply the government sending money to itself. The government is actually funding itself in various forms through this bill, this rescue bill. $300 million to the Social Security Administration, not to pay Social Security benefits, but for the administration. $50 million to the Institute for the Museum and Library Services. We have $75 million to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, which should not even exist. $350 million for refugee assistance. We're finding out more and more and more things in that bill. And it's not just the size of the bill that is the problem. It is the precedent we are setting. It is the expectation we are setting in our society for more and more people who are out of work to think it doesn't really matter if I get a paycheck, because after all, I will get a paycheck from the government. Money will come in. Now, I'm going to say, folks, plenty of Americans want to work. I believe plenty of Americans would rather earn their own way, but not all of them. There's a healthy percentage of the American people who can sit back and say, well, I did work for a while, but now the government pays me. No processing what that means, which is your neighbors down the street who are working hard and earning money. They're the ones actually who are paying you. This is who is paying you in this country. So this is a massive bill, definitely increasing dependency on the government, the expectation the government takes care of us. And worst of all, this is what the Democrat Party has always wanted, a bigger and bigger power in Washington, a more collectivized government, a government that takes control of more and more private industry. And the worst part of the way the leftists see this kind of bill is they will treat this not as a temporary measure passed in an emergency situation. They will include every item of spending as the norm for all future spending bills. It will become the norm. It will become the baseline. It will have then, whenever any next bill comes along, there'll be arguments by the left, but you Republicans, you can't cut. We already spent X last year. You can't cut that. You can't cut it back. And so now you've got to spend that much or more going forward on every bill. Mark my words, this will be treated by the left as a baseline expenditure. Last thing on today's First Five before we turn to our wonderful interview. I cannot wait to talk to Steve Moore, fabulous thinker, fabulous economist. Many of you, he's been on the show before. I'm sure you know his name, but he's been out there advocating to get America back to work. We're going to talk to him about why he says that, what the consequence will be if we don't do that. To close out today's First Five, there are already predictions that under our current shutdown system in this country, country shutdown, we will have we may have job losses in the range of 47 million jobs. Not 47 million people temporarily are out of work because their business is closed. 47 million people whose businesses will be gone. That by the time we're finished with this overreaction to the coronavirus, we will have 47 million people who don't have an employer to go back to anymore, for whom we're eventually either going to have to find other jobs, new businesses, or as the Democrats are, just rubbing their hands together, can't wait for more people they can add to their dependency class, which only grows the power of the Democrat Party. This is crisis thinking in this country that got us to passing a $2.2 trillion bill, paying many Americans from the government, checks coming from the government, more than they would have earned had the company remained open and they'd stayed at work. It's an astonishing and dangerous time we are in, time for every American to be smart, to be wise, to be alert, to recognize what is happening to our country. And that, my friends, is today's First Five.